What does it really mean to be a man who grounds? Not a man who controls, not a man who cages, but a man whose very presence steadies the room, calms the storm, and gives others permission to breathe again? Chosen one, this is the question your life has been answering, not with speeches, but with the way your spirit stands. The ground is never glamorous until the wind rises. No one notices it until the storm comes. But when the chaos arrives, when the world begins to shake, everyone suddenly understands the gift of something solid beneath their feet. That is you. That is the power of being rooted, steady, and unshaken. True masculine grounding does not crush life into stillness. It does not silence softness or demand imitation of hardness. It is not a cage. It is a frame, a structure where softness grows into strength without betrayal of its nature. Women feel this instantly. Their breath deepens. Their steps return to something human. Their laughter no longer asks permission in rooms that once punished its brightness. They may not have words for it, but their bodies know. What they are sensing is the architecture of your presence, the way you embody structure without suffocation, shelter without smothering, direction without drag. Grounding begins with your inner weather. You do not depend on her peace to calm your storms. You do not justify your rage by borrowing her thunder. You regulate first, so co-regulation becomes possible. This is not mechanical. It is holy. You know your thresholds. You understand the stories your body tells when it is tired, the promises it whispers that your character cannot afford to keep. You have learned to step outside, breathe, and return with your center intact. You know sometimes the most powerful apology is not eloquence, but a softened tone, a slower pace, and a glass of water. To ground is not to erase emotion, but to host it without letting it sit on the throne. You lead not with orders, but with orientation. Orientation is the art of pointing true north without dragging anyone by the arm. It is found in your small rituals, in the way you weave care into calendar. You hold check-ins at steady hours so intimacy is not always a fire drill. You begin the week with questions that bless. What will need gentleness? What will need courage? What will need both? You close each day cleanly so sleep does not inherit the noise of unfinished conversations. These quiet disciplines lower the cost of love and teach the body that here, love is not adrenaline. It is a dwelling place. Feminine women flourish in such spaces because the river has strong banks to hold the waters. Your boundaries are fluent in kindness. A no can arrive without edges that cut. You can decline with warmth, accept without hunger, pause a moment while it still feels good. You can say not tonight without making tomorrow pay. Boundaries like these are not fences built from fear. They are doors built with respect. And women feel safe to knock when they know the hinges have been oiled with kindness. Protection in your hands is foresight, not aggression disguised. It looks like locking the door before anxiety has to whisper. It looks like fixing the tire before resilience must give another roadside sermon. It looks like walking on the traffic side because love remembers in practical ways. It looks like stepping between a person's dignity and a joke aimed at its expense, like protecting privacy instead of trading it for points in the crowd's invisible economy. Such protection does not shrink the feminine. It says not, stay behind me, but stand beside me. Watch how we make this safe together. And chosen one, your grounding shows in conflict too. You can hold the line without cutting people. You can disagree without demeaning. End a fight without demanding a war. You separate the person from the problem and let accuracy do the work that drama fails at. You own your part quickly and resist assigning motives to others. You do not weaponize history even when your memory is sharp. You repair when it is still easy. And when it is hard, you do not run to shallow forgiveness to escape responsibility. In your presence, the feminine learns she can be fierce without bracing for attack, tender without rehearsing for permission. Desire in you is not a wildfire. It is fire with a hearth. You invite heat into a choreography governed by consent, context, and care. You listen before you touch. You ask before you lead. And your pace is set by presence, not panic. You do not need to burn the house down to prove the fire is real. In your world, passion matures from a storm into a climate, from a moment into a habitat. The body senses this fluency and relaxes into deeper aliveness, an aliveness that is shared, ethical, unforgettable. You ground by honoring her brilliance without annexing it. You do not need to be the source of her light to be its ally. You ask her, where does your courage want to grow next? And you live like a man who believes the answer. You guard the hours when her craft is loud and her doubt is louder. You carry chores without keeping score. You clap from the back row without needing the spotlight. You open doors without chains attached. And because of this, she can bring her full strength home without choosing between love and the life that makes her eyes shine. Grounding respects seasons. You do not demand summer from a wintering soul. You honor quiet germination. You celebrate harvest without making it your identity. You put fields to rest so rest itself becomes fertile ground. You mark anniversaries of repair as faithfully as anniversaries of romance. You understand endurance is softer and braver than mere effort. Women in your presence stop fearing their humanity will be used against them. They know they can be cyclical and still be cherished. Everywhere you go, you leave places better than you found them. The floor is cleaner, the plan simpler, the laughter freer, the strangers welcomed like neighbors. You do not narrate this, you normalize it. And normal is where civilization breeds. The pride she feels in you is not the thrill of exception, but the peace of reliability. She can tell stories about you that stand true when the lights come on. So guard this architecture. Keep your steadiness renewable. Rest like loyalty. Eat for clarity. Move with stewardship. Sit with counsel that speaks truth before the crowd does. Pray so power remembers where it came from. Walk with chosen ones who also ground instead of glare. So your kindness stays strong and your strength stays kind. Chosen one, grounding is not gripping. It is holding the earth open for roots. Women feel this and call it pride, not arrogance, but the dignity of standing tall in a world that tried to make them small. You help them stand. You make standing contagious. Keep your palms steady. Keep your spine honest. Keep your eyes gentle. Keep your pace human. Let storms come. Let gardens grow. Let love move at the speed of truth. And let every soul who meets you leave knowing that ground still exists. And it is good to stand upon. Climate is not born from glamour. It does not rise from dramatic speeches or grand gestures. It is built in the quiet, steady ways that few notice, but everyone feels. It is built when you clear away the emotional debris, the vague plans, the promises half kept, the apologies left too late. These small failures weigh heavy on a heart longing for safety. You remove them so tenderness does not stumble. Your schedule is not a chain but a trellis. It is not a prison, but a structure that helps love grow. When the day begins, you have already carved out the time that matters. You have honored your commitments, so no one has to fight for space near you. You guard the hour for true conversation, so she never has to compete with your phone. You finish what you start, or you speak honestly before silence becomes another wound she has to interpret. This is how her body learns it can open without bracing. This is how her brilliance moves from the edge back to the center. You are attentive but never oppressive. Curiosity in your hands is a candle, not a spotlight. You learn the small details that give her courage. The book she returns to, the meal that steadies her, the walk that puts her mind in order. You bring those things back quietly, without needing credit. You repeat the sentence that carried her day, not to be praised, but to be accurate. Accuracy is one of love's truest gifts. It tells the soul it has been seen in the right size. And when she is seen clearly, she grows freely, like a garden that trusts its fence. You honor her ambition without trying to annex it. You don't praise her fire only to hire it for your story. You protect the hours when her work is loud and her doubt louder. You take your place in the ordinary tasks. Love as much in logistics as in lyric. This is the masculinity that multiplies. She does not bloom into your shadow, but into her own shape. You know discipline must be watered with joy. Too many men forget this. You bring both. You celebrate early drafts, small wins, ordinary Tuesdays. You bless the process, not just the outcome. A bouquet left without a camera, a simple voice note, a walk rescheduled so her work has space. In this culture, perfection loosens its grip. Excellence becomes breathable again. Play is not immaturity. It is oxygen. She inhales, and color returns. You know how to keep heat holy. Chemistry does not outrun reverence. Consent is not a hoop, but a language of integrity. You read yes with care. You read no with equal respect. Touch is never a replacement for presence. The pace belongs to the tenderest one in the room. Because you are strong, you are patient. Wildness in you bows to wisdom. Wildness in her feels safe, because it is not rushed into performance. Here, bodies stop auditioning and start belonging. You bless the seasons. You do not demand summer from a wintering soul. You do not press speed from a season made for slow. You hold the quiet months without needing to turn them into productivity. You remember anniversaries of repair as faithfully as anniversaries of romance. You treat rest as part of the work and grief as part of love. That kind of safety becomes fertilizer. Bloom returns, not as a performance, but as the natural law of good soil. Your leadership enters conflict like rain, not hail. You do not throw ice to prove you are strong. You lower the temperature until truth can breathe. You speak the kindest true thing first. You separate the problem from the person and let both keep dignity. And when you are wrong, and you will be, because you are human, you repair quickly and with care. You put the furniture back where emotion moved it. You check the floorboards later to be sure the repair held. This reliability tells a soul, you can open fully here, and nothing vital will be broken beyond repair. You make space for her friendships, her mentors, her communities. You know one bloom is not the whole garden. You do not try to be every voice she hears. You share her with those who make her taller, softer, wiser, brighter. Jealousy may visit, but you do not give it keys. Love that hoards cannot keep a bloom alive. Love that shares can. You are not threatened by the choir that tunes her, because you are devoted to the song. Be proud of this. Not the pride that plucks a petal to prove it once held a flower, but the pride that tends the soil faithfully through winter, content to see colors return in spring. Pride quiet as a greenhouse kept warm. Pride content as a gardener who knows the miracle is not his to create, only his to protect. This is the discipline of those chosen for more. They are unashamed of gentleness that makes strength beautiful. They are unafraid of strength that makes gentleness safe. They keep the windows cracked for breeze, the doors oiled for guests, The bench clean for the hour when two people will sit, say little, and feel the world soften because the climate held. Standards do not rise by shouting. They rise when someone stands by them long enough for the room to remember what right feels like. Your presence teaches this. Quietly, steadily, you recalibrate the atmosphere. Conversations grow more honest. Laughter no longer needs victims. Schedules end on time. People orient themselves by you the way sailors orient by a light on the coast. Steady, proven, not dramatic, necessary. This is what it means to become a standard, not the exception admired from afar, but the example others can follow. A standard is not a slogan. It is a pattern. It begins with time. You arrive when you said you would, with attention not pawned to distraction. You leave when you promised, with loops closed, so no one else pays for your absence. You keep Sabbath quietly, instead of displaying exhaustion loudly. People learn not from your words, but from the relief that urgency is not the same as importance. You are not just punctual. You are generous with predictability. Predictability is love on the clock. The pattern continues in your speech. You say enough to be clear and little enough to be kind. Your humor never spins others. Your compliments hold evidence, so they can be trusted later. Your corrections are sized for growth, not ego. Your apologies arrive before sunset, shaped so behavior changes without ceremony. Your stories do not crown you as the hero. In this climate, words stop being weapons and become tools again, and people around you copy the cadence without effort. That is what a standard does. It multiplies itself quietly, naturally, steadily. This is how love builds climate, not in spectacle, but in pattern, not in noise, but in steadiness, not in slogans, but in rhythms repeated until the soil itself learns to bloom.